tonight at the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina for a rivalry game between the Tar Heels and North Carolina State. North Carolina State is sitting squarely on the bubble of the NCAA tournament, while the Tar Heels, their long and storied history, this is something that will not be a memorable chapter. North Carolina comes into this game riding a 7-game losing streak. That is one short of the all-time school record. The last time they had one this long, the ACC didn't exist. For Roy Williams, this is the second longest losing streak of any Williams-coached team. First year at Kansas, they lost 8 straight. And North Carolina's never finished last in the ACC, and that is exactly where they sit as we come in tonight. Glad to have you with us. Reese Davis, John Crispin, Brooke Weisbrod will join us. But there is one thing that seemingly heals the heels as playing North Carolina State. Not only is Roy Williams 31-4 against the Pack, their last victory came against North Carolina State.
Look, this is a team in North Carolina State. Obviously, Roy Williams gets up for it. And these fans don't seem to think that they've lost 7 games straight. They're going to have to deal with a guy in Markel Johnson who has been terrific. He's one of the ACC's best playmakers and facilitators. At times, I think he needs to find the consistent balance between making plays for teammates as a pass-first point guard, but also creating for himself. Now, one of the things he does best is he creates tempo for his team. Now, at the same time, it's a tempo that Roy Williams likes, and it certainly favors North Carolina as well.
And you mentioned this right before we came on the air, John. You have to admire these fans. This team is 10-17, in danger of maybe having the worst ACC season in the history of this program, and yet here they are making some noise. North Carolina State, meanwhile, comes in. Joe Lunardi has him among the last 4 in. Joe saying that regardless of what happens in our game here tonight, that NC State would not fall out of the field of 68. The Wolfpack controls the opening tip, and Markel Johnson, who is the key to this North Carolina State team. When he plays well, they can beat just about anybody.
He's the kind of guy that likes to push that tempo. Talking about Kevin Keatts wants it up and down the floor, but so does Roy Williams. And I think the team that wins, as Markel Johnson gets it going quickly, the team that wins that transition battle up and down can create rhythm and tempo. Maybe the team that wins the game.
You saw the starting lineup for the Wolfpack, and the North Carolina starting 5 looks like this. Brooks and Bacot really controlled the glass in the first meeting between these two. Cole Anthony did not play in the first game against North Carolina State. He was still dealing with that knee injury. So Carolina on a 7-game losing streak and trying to snap it here against a rival and sweep the regular season series from the Wolfpack. Evan Daniels, a little high handoff, and the often offensively challenged Manny Bates gets one at the rim.
Well, that's going to be a challenge when you go to that high ball screen. Bigs are going to try to push that thing further from the basket, but at the same time, you push yourself as a big defender away from the basket. You need that backside help or ball pressure to take that lob over the top away.
You know, John, State got off to a good start the last time against North Carolina in Raleigh. The Tar Heels were able to come back for a 10-point victory. Garrison Brooks, who was a big part of that, fires one up from the free throw line, can't get the roll. Pulling away the rebound, DJ Funderburk.
Well, rebounding is going to be big today, too. I mean, 14 offensive rebounds for North Carolina at North Carolina State, and it does a lot more. It's going to be legal screen.
And the foul is called on Garrison Brooks as Roy Williams. Pardon me, I beg your pardon, Manny Bates, wrong 15. There is Roy Williams. We mentioned his record, not only 31-4 against the Wolfpack as the North Carolina head coach, he's 36-4. He tacked 5 more wins against the Pack onto the total when he was the head coach at Kansas. And Roy values this rivalry. Everybody knows about the Duke rivalry, but one of the points of emphasis when he came back here was to make sure that people valued this one. Carolina not valuing the basketball and turning it over. Here's Johnson again, getting all the way to the basket.
And look, you try to hedge hard, but you've got to force Markel Johnson further. He's got to either stop or go back towards the half-court line. Otherwise, he's going to turn the corner and continue to get to the basket.
Brandon Robinson has been dealing with a bad ankle. Bacot gets it, but a foul is called inside.
I want to go back to that point I was trying to get out about offensive rebounding for North Carolina. When you think about the tempo that North Carolina State wants to create, getting up and down the floor, they do that with their defense and with their offense. And when North Carolina gets offensive rebounds, it takes rhythm away from the offense for North Carolina State. And I think that's why you've got to be aggressive on the offensive glass if you're the Tar Heels. And for North Carolina State, you've got to be in position. You need your guards to be as good a rebounders as your bigs tonight.
Kevin Keatts showed his team a sequence from that first game, John, of about 5 consecutive putbacks that the Tar Heels had a chance to get. You don't need the offensive rebound if you do what Markel Johnson did, but he sort of challenged them to be able to keep the Tar Heels off the board. And NC State missed a chance to go up 10-0 in the first game, but they do not this time. Anthony misses. The tip is no good, and Thunderbird clears it away, and State is off to a terrific start on the road.
And those are some of the toughest ones to rebound because you bring shot blockers over to Cole Anthony, and you give up opportunities for the bigs for North Carolina.
Thunderbird bails out Johnson. Daniels finds Johnson. Markel trying for another 3. This one won't go, and North Carolina pulls away the rebound. The Tar Heels have been offensively challenged this year. They don't shoot free throws well. They don't shoot it well from three-point land. They've improved from 2 recently, but they spent much of the season in the bottom 40 or 50 in the country in all 3 categories, and it's another turnover for the Heels, their 4th. Daniels has it slapped away, and last touched by NC State, and they have their 3rd turnover. Kevin Keats in his 3rd year as a head coach at North Carolina State. You see how well they've done on the road. And one thing North Carolina State has in its favor on its tournament resume, John, they have 5 quad 1 wins. That matches the most in the ACC. Florida State got its 5th last night by beating Louisville at home.
And I would say the thing for North Carolina State is even when things aren't going your way, how do you get the rhythm in your favor? When they're rolling, they're very good. But if you take that rhythm away, they struggle, and these turnovers continue to kill the Tar Heels. And it's understandable when you consider the injuries. It's understandable why the on-the-court chemistry is suffering for North Carolina. I think when a coach talks about it, you view it as an excuse. But when we say it, look, there are reasons why this team has struggled, and we'll go throughout those reasons, or go through those reasons throughout the course of this game.
There's a double dribble on Jericho Helms. Has not reached the first media timeout. NC State scored 10 points, and we're approaching 10 turnovers for both teams. Baycott already has 3 of them. You mentioned the injuries, and as Sterling Manley and Anthony Harris are out for the season, Harris barely played early on before hurting his knee again. He's a highly touted young player. Yesterday, I'm told, was the first time, excluding those guys who are out for the season, that the Tar Heels have practiced completely, the complete team, able to practice since December.
I mean,
Cole Anthony and one.
That's a guy that just needs space to make something happen. I mean, he might be, we think of him as a volume shooter. He's really a volume scorer. But I like the volume. I don't mind. He's the best player on the floor. You got to let him create. Now, the biggest key is the guys off the ball need to be good cutters when he's got the ball in his hands. Why? Because when he's got the ball in his hands, the defense's eyes shift.
And foul was called on Daniels. It's his first.
How do we go back to that? Those injuries and not being able to practice, that's the chemistry we talk about on the floor. This is not a team that seems to have locker room chemistry issues. But you've got to play together. You've got to practice together to understand tendencies and know how to play as a unit against opponents. I mean, this has just been the biggest struggle for North Carolina as North Carolina State continues to roll offensively.
That was Jericho Helms with another 3. Leaky Black answers with the mid-range.
Quick transition opportunities for North Carolina may be what helps give them confidence. I know it looks like a quick shot when you struggle to pass the basketball, but it'll be your best opportunity.
Couple of subs in the game. Braxton Beverly, who has a history of playing well against the Tar Heels, guarded by Christian Keeling, who's into the game. Keeling, a grad transfer from Charleston Southern, has been playing much better of late. Daniels. Keeling with the rebound. Keeling the pull-up.
Last 2 shots for North Carolina have been huge because we talked about this with Roy Williams, the ability to get a stop and a basket to eliminate a run. And now you got the crowd in it.
Into the game, Justin Pierce knocks it away and forces the turnover. Leakey looking for help. Pierce. And Black with the offensive rebound. See if Anthony thought about firing the 3. Found Garrison Brooks, who got away with the travel.
I'm glad you said it. He definitely got away with the travel, but this is what North Carolina needs. A couple stops, some hustle plays, just to find a little confidence. That's going to be an offensive foul.
Brooks went 25 and 11 in the first one, and another foul called on North Carolina State, and the Tar Heels will have it back as they found their sea legs in the early going. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Progressive Insurance. Get slam dunk savings today. Visit progressive.com.
You're watching Super Tuesday, presented by Progressive. Welcome back to Chapel Hill. NC State with an early 13-8 lead over Carolina. So just how important is this win for NC State? Well, as of today, Joey Brackets has them in as the last 4 in. But of course, head coach Kevin Keatts said, I did not talk to my team about that at all today. Not about today and not about the rest of the season. It's about one game and one game only. But guys, you have to understand too on the other side of things, Carolina and how important this win is for them. Well, Joey Brackets won't make much of a difference if they do win. But as Roy Williams once famously said, I would rather eat or beat State, I should say, than eat.
Yeah, Roy gets into this rivalry. Both sides do. It got a little bit chippy at the end of the game in Raleigh as Leaky Black leaves it on the front of the rim. But that's what you want. You want a little intensity in rivalry.
Yeah, and it also makes sense why there's 10 turnovers in this game to start. I mean, it's like the emotions of a rivalry game. There's a lead up to it. There's an understanding that both teams may not be polished to start the game.
Cole Anthony pushing it up the floor. That looks like Carolina getting it into front court fast. You haven't always seen that this year. Offensive rebound, Brooks.
It's one of those second chance opportunities that we talked about, but it also, that's 2 fouls on Manny Bates, and that's going to be a problem. Not a lot of depth in the front court for North Carolina State. This is where the Tar Heels can have their way. Attacking the offensive glass, creating second chance opportunities. It's not just at the rim. Those second chance opportunities for kickouts, those are huge. Those are high percentage threes.
That foul on Bates, John, sends him to the bench. He's the ACC's leading shot blocker. You look at the numbers that Garrison Brooks has been able to put up this year. He lost about 8 pounds with that illness that cost him the playing time against Louisville on Saturday. And Carolina's on a 9-0 run as Brooks, who has often scuffled at the free throw line, is off to a good start. Thunderbird down low.
It's another example of Garrison Brooks hedging so high that the backside help needs to be there. It needs to be there, or ball pressure needs to be so strong that you just can't make that pass over the top.
Block is called. Foul's called on Devin Daniels, and that's his second.
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. Watch Brooks there. He gets so high up top that there's no help on the backside. And you've got to pressure that basketball, force it out over the top, and have those hands high and present to keep from that pass over the top. I mean, we've seen about 3 or 4 examples of this already today.
Okay, now I think you need to watch, John, the defense from NC State now, because you have the shot blocker on the bench with 2 fouls, and Daniels, who's regarded as their best on-ball defender on the bench with 2 fouls.
As long as you have space, there's a guy in Cole Anthony that can create. That's going to be double dribble, travel, something. It doesn't look right.
No, it was a double dribble, and it's the 6th turnover for North Carolina, and I don't remember the last game that I saw in which 2 double dribbles have been called, let alone before we played 7 minutes.
It's rhythm, too. I may say the word rhythm too much in a broadcast, but it's more important than you realize. I mean, that's ultimately what you're trying to do with your offense, is you're trying to create rhythm. Shooters shoot well when there's rhythm in the game. And this kind of choppy back and forth, the turnovers, that hurts it.
Cole Anthony picks up his first foul. Armando Bacot, Brandon Robinson will return to the Tar Heels. Leaky Black and Brooks will get breaks. Now they're going to monitor Garrison Brooks coming off that illness. And the only question really that Roy had about him was the stamina because of the weight loss associated with the sickness. Gained a lot of that back. A lot of it was liquid, but you know, you missed several days. He didn't do much in practice yesterday. Try to keep the stamina for later. C.J. Bryce, who did not score in the last game against North Carolina, gets a bucket.
That's a physical move, and it's a good job by everybody off the ball, just staying out of the way.
Keeling. That's his shot. He's really good in the mid-range.
Sounds funny, right? How often do you say that? Old double nickels with a 15-foot pull-up.
That's old school. You wear the 55, you hit the pull-up. Helms gets a little space. That is not the analytics' favorite shot with one step inside the 3, but he was wide open.
Get an open shot.
Yeah, might as well.
Look, just take it. I love that. Look, everybody says it's the worst shot in basketball. Well, if it's a bad shot, it's a bad shot.
How about Keeling going to work again? You saw the graphic a little while ago. He's averaging nearly a dozen over his last 6 games, and he's got 6 already and made all 3 shots. C.J. Bryce. Heels looking to tie or get the lead for the first time tonight. And whistle as bodies continue to fly. Foul was called on Jericho Helms. Carolina has awakened. We have a 2-point game. We're already seeing a little bit of that. John Crispin, Reese Davis back with you. At the moment, you want to make some new friends, John? Turn around and tell the people in light blue behind you that Wake Forest is up by 1 on Duke in overtime over on the ACC network. How about that?
Something tells me they're paying attention to that stuff.
Here, North Carolina got off to a really slow start. Up against the shot clock, Brandon Robinson didn't draw iron, so it'll be a shot clock violation.
They got off to a slow start, but they've had a response, and I think that's what you're looking for if you're Roy Williams.
New York Live ACC tournament will be in Greensboro. Can't wait to see Jim Boeheim down there in Greensboro. Right now, Syracuse will be the 7th seed if the tournament started today. Duke would be sitting on the 2 at the moment, but obviously would put themselves in harm's way, having lost to Louisville this year. If game in Cameron Indoor earlier, should they not be able to pull it out against Wake Forest. Wake Forest, meanwhile, sits in 14th place in the ACC, 1 spot ahead of North Carolina, who's dead last.
Anything can happen. I mean, there's a number of reasons now of Wake Forest up 3 with a minute to go. Look, anything can happen for a variety of reasons. First off, we talk about parity, right? A lot of teams out there, they have talent, but just they can't find consistency. The other thing is you got a lot of young teams at the top, and they're not experienced enough to be able to have a response when a team forces you into a counter, forces you into adjustments. That's why I think right now I like Kansas probably more so than anybody else. I know they say Duke has the best chance to win national championship. I don't really know how they come up with that stuff.
Armando Bacot came up with that rebound, wrestling it away. He's playing with a couple of fouls. He was just called for that second one. Leaky Black, wild shot. Leaky was taking on water with that shot.
I was going to say, go ahead. You're thinking of something. I can feel it.
Markel Johnson's been hot. He had 8 right out of the gate. What a block out by Funderburk.
It was like a double block out. They both did a good job blocking out, trying to create space. Funderburk got turned around and the ball just fell into his lap.
And they're going to put that on the blockout textbook because Funderburk won. He went 18-8 the last time these two teams played. Doing work on the glass. Shot clock in single digits. Bacot right at Funderburk, who tipped it away, but Garrison Brooks puts it back up and one.
The initial no call on the first shot. Bacot goes up. Funderburk just goes straight up. He just can't corral the rebound, and then a broken play seems to be the best play. Second chance opportunities. It's huge. You can cut a run with a second chance opportunity. What are they booing now? Is it
Garrison?
The red shoes? Is it Keith's red shoes? I think they're pretty cool.
I think they're
just
sweet.
not in this building.
Brooks 7-3 so far. That's about halfway to his average for the season. A junior from Lafayette, Alabama, played at Auburn High School. Oh, Markel put him in the blender. In the double figures.
Ain't no breakdown for that one, I'll tell you what.
There was some who would suggest that Markel Johnson is well aware of who he's playing. I mean, he lit up Duke, Trey Jones. And now you got Cole Anthony, not always going one-on-one with Cole, but against him. And Bacot goes over the top. And Markel wants to show out, and he has, and Bacot answers. It's a 2-point game.
Well, Markel was able to do that with not a lot of space, but without ball pressure, getting that pass over the top, that's going to be there.
Braxton Beverly, 62% in his career from 3 against Carolina. Andrew Platek into the game for the Tar Heels. Brooks has a size advantage on Helms. We'll go to the free throw line. That's 2 on Jericho Helms, and Keats' team starting to get in a little foul trouble here.
The best thing Baycott did was just force the defender up the line and hold his ground. And this is just awesome, man. I mean, there's like 5 hesitations in Markel's move. He just messes with you. It's not even fair. And then the elevation, too. The fact that he can elevate, go right into a shot blocker. So glad I don't play anymore. It's just, like, the problem is, too, you have GIFs and you have YouTube. You have all these other things where every time you get beat, you end up on a video.
Seeing a couple of grad transfers from North Carolina in the game, and now Pat Andre, a grad transfer from Lehigh, son of Tim Andre, who played for Digger Phelps at Notre Dame, is into the game. Number 31 as we check in with Brooke more on Markel Johnson.
Well, he actually likes a little motivation and told me that when Coach Keats called him soft one time, that pumped him up. And, you know, coaches are always hardest on the ones they care for the most. But, you know, Markel is used to being in that spotlight with some big game winners this year. He told me, though, tonight his biggest goal is being consistent. Consistent on fast break defense and finding guys to get the shot down just like Beverly.
I would say, too, it's consistent with good decisions. You know, attack when you need to attack. Share the basketball when you need to share it. Just feel out the game a little bit more, and that's not something you expect from Braxton Beverly. No disrespect.
Cole Anthony back. He gets a win Beverly comes up with it. Braxton's been bothered with a bad back this year, so it's limited some of his games. It hasn't limited him shooting.
That's what
certainly not against the Tar Heels, and 5 straight points for Braxton Beverly.
He's got the hockey beard. You don't really expect him to attack the basket the way he did, but he uses his ability to shoot to get defenders up. You get defenders up off your feet, you just need a little bit of room to be able to create.
Anthony against Markel Johnson, and Anthony right over the top. He's got 5.
You can see he creates rhythm with the bounce, but he also does it with the jab. The jab step gives him rhythm. It doesn't just create space. You can tell that shot was going in the second it left his hands.
Terrific pass from Johnson to Funderburk, and he'll go to the free throw line when we come back.
Patrick Beverly doing the job. Look, the guy got to the basket, does what we expect him to do here, just catch and shoot. Can't give him any space. That's a guy that can knock him down left and right. Cole Anthony, don't give him any room.
John?
You know, O'Connell hit a big 3 in the comeback that Duke had here against North Carolina. And they were seemingly dead in the water. You look at the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds, according to Joe Lenardi. Joe didn't necessarily have a scenario with Duke losing, but he had said the Blue Devils would move to the 1 line should San Diego State drop its game. And right now, Duke's trying to just get out of the woods against Wake.
There's still a part of me that wishes San Diego State was just a 2 in the West. You
might wind up that way.
But you send them to the East, and it's almost like they're so far from home. I'd rather see them battle it out in Los Angeles for supremacy in the West. Like, who cares if you're a 1 or 2 at that point? Maybe
I think
John, I
think it's just a point of pride. It really,
yes,
this year, you know, there's not a great deal of separation. I'm not sure it matters that much in terms of bracketing. And back to the free throw line is Garrison Brooks. And for about the 3rd time tonight, he's had those goggles knocked off. He just slung them to the bench earlier. Now he'll have Cole Anthony deliver them to Roy Williams.
He actually had like the nose piece. I don't know what that is, the bridge. You see it fly off. It's a good thing he had those glasses on. I mean, that's where you catch one across the nose or in the eyes. That was a terrific move, though. The up and under.
Well,
fix the rec specs and get it back on.
He got a little bit of a bloody nose there. And the foul was called, by the way, on Andre. Pat Andre's into the game. It's his first. And the foul been called on Funderburk, who is also on defense. It would have been his second. And NC State already has 3 players with 2 fouls.
I think that foul trouble for Manny Bates is going to be a huge issue. I mean, it happened so early. And to not have that kind of like the twin towers down low where they can protect the glass. I mean, Manny Bates, as you said, one of the best shot blockers there is in the ACC.
Brooks having another big night. He's up to 11 points. Bates is a ticket taker back there. He's a young player, redshirt freshman. They believe they can continue to add strength to him. They've got to help him develop a little bit of an offensive game, but He really allows him to put some pressure on the perimeter when he's in there, but he's been sitting the majority of the first half with 2 fouls. Funderburk has not been sitting, and he has been delivering. He now has 7.
It's a great shot to have in your repertoire, right? The turn and face up and just knock it down.
He's fortunate he wasn't called for his second foul there. Johnson gets it up ahead to C.J. Bryce, who tracks it down.
Yeah, I think he definitely got away with a foul. I mean, that's the one that is automatic, right? 2 hands on the ball handler. That was kind of a pass block, too. It looked like a pass block. My man behind me, I agree.
I don't know if our mics picked that up or not, but he's yelling at the official, Bill Covington. You have to love that as Black knocks down the shot. They're calling it a 2. The great fans here at North Carolina know all the officials by name. They're yelling at Bill Covington, who with Michael Stevens and Tony Henderson are our officials tonight.
Nowadays they know him by name and by Twitter handle.
Come on, Billy, pushed him right off the block. Which he did. Sometimes the fans are right. Johnson kicks it, extra pass to Andre. Justin Pierce putting it into the front court for the Tar Heels. You recognize these uniforms, John? They commemorate teams from the late 60s, 67, 68, and 69. They went to 3 consecutive Final Fours.
It wasn't really around for it.
Yeah, but you can be aware of the history, can you not?
Yeah, I'm just trying to mess up your setup here.
Yeah, such a good teammate. What your brother always said, too. Yes. Tough guy to play with, your brother said. 31-28 headed toward the 5-minute mark here in the first half.
Sometimes the challenging ones bring out the best in you.
Still waiting. Yep. C.J. Bryce had a tough night the last time. C.J.'s been a little up and down. He had a couple of scoreless games, including the one against Carolina back-to-back.
He hurt me.
He's playing well tonight as C.J.'s hit 3 of his first 5 shots and has a half dozen. But scoreless against Georgia Tech and North Carolina. Sort of got things back together, but he's scored just 12 points in his last 2 games as Anthony shows what all the hype's about with that just filthy drive getting all the way to the bucket, and that commemorative jersey's got a little blood on it for Garrison Brooks there. Saturday, full day of college basketball highlighted by a couple of big ones. Duke taking on Virginia. I think we're seeing right now the difficulties the Blue Devils are having on the road, and that will not be easy against a quickly improving Wahoo squad for Tony Bennett. Then College Game Day will be on hand. Michigan State and Maryland. Spartans back into the top 25, taking on Maryland, who's trying to win conference title for the first time since 2010, which is also the last year that Duke won a share of the ACC.
How did we find that guy?
Biggest Scott Van Pelt, Scott Van Pelt fan in the building right there. I think Scott's going to be with us on College Game Day. He's going to come up for his alma mater.
Look, Maryland's been a really good team.
Really good.
It's been a brutal Big Ten conference. Not that anybody is great in the Big Ten. I think that's been the real challenge when defining the best conference. Like, there's some teams that, there are some conferences, I should say, that have a quality across the board. And I say more bottom to top is the Big Ten. You see Anthony Cowan. He's one of the best in that conference and only getting better. But Jalen Smith has been terrific. Definitely up there in the conversation for Big Ten Player of the Year.
Markel Johnson flying right, Keeling with the rebound. Michigan State beat Iowa tonight. Iowa, a really good offensive team. Had the Spartans on the ropes for a while in the corner. Keeling misses, and Justin Pierce gets the offensive board, and the Tar Heels will get a fresh 20. Keeling attacking Helms, who has 2 fouls. Pierce! Terrific look. Grad transfer to grad transfer. C.J. Bryce, and hoping to get the roll. Bryce will go to the free throw line, and we've got a rivalry fight here in Chapel Hill. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you.
I get a kick out of everyone says, well, Big Ten doesn't have a Final Four team or national championship team. Why? Who's so much better? What league is so much better than the best teams in the Big Ten? Explain it to me.
I never
Last time I checked, Indiana beat Florida State. Florida State beats anyone in the ACC.
I just don't think there's – I think the real response is I don't know if there's any real elite teams out there this year. No one is without vulnerability. That just seems to be the way to define college basketball this year, which I think should open up the door for an absolutely mad March Madness.
Perhaps one reminiscent of another one, which you were not alive for 50 years ago, when UCLA went with, I think, St. Bonaventure, Jacksonville, and New Mexico State. How about that? You could have Creighton, for instance, most entertaining team in college basketball. You could watch, shot is blocked. Platek comes away with it. Carolina down by 3. Platek.
I go back to Wisconsin in 2000. You know, you had Wisconsin and Michigan State in the Final Four. Wisconsin was a team we beat at Penn State. They weren't that good that year.
Elam drew it a 3 earlier. Can't get that one. Anthony with a good look ahead to Platek, who attacks Beverly, and there's a little bit of a shoulder block from Beverly, and he'll be called for the foul. It's his first. This week, our NBA Wednesday doubleheader tips off in Houston. Rockets taking on Ja Morant and the Grizz. 8 o'clock Eastern time. Man, how much fun has that guy been to watch as advertised. And the Celtics going to wrap up a road trip in Salt Lake City against the Jazz. Coverage begins with Stephen A's pregame Sports Center. 7 on ESPN and the ESPN app.
I just think this is going to be one of those years where everybody should come into the NCAA tournament and we should throw all numbers away. It's my favorite time of year because metrics no longer matter. I get so tired of this time of year when everybody argues that this team's good because of these metrics. In the NCAA tournament, none of it matters. And that's why I love it. It's just playing ball. It's matchups. It's what you can do on the floor. It's how you respond. It's how you adjust to different opponents. How you create rhythm in the game the way you want the game to be played. That's why, I mean, look at Jim Boeheim in the NCAA tournament. Why he's had so much success. He can manipulate the basketball game.
And his teams typically don't get tight because that's one thing you can't measure. John Funderburk measures it up and slams it home, a wide open dunk. You can't measure how a team's going to handle pressure when they know they're supposed to win and the crowd starts getting behind the underdog. How are they going to respond to that? Because there's very little that replicates that in the regular season.
Well, especially when you're a young team that knows they're supposed to win. What a take.
Platek.
2 straight defensive breakdowns for each team. This is where you really want to see somebody lock in, close the half strong.
I'm all right with shot making. Over the top, and the foul is going to be called. That's on Danny Dixon. It's his first.
I'm all right with shot making, but I think the breakdowns where it's just an easy pass to Funderburk for a wide open dunk or a little bit of space that's a wide open layup. I want to see movement, man.
You want me to be honest with you what I was doing there?
Yep.
Less than 2 minutes until we go to the half.
Yes.
And I was just trying to wind up Greenberg a little bit.
Oh,
because
okay.
Greenberg is convinced that I don't even believe that teams should get in a defensive stance. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Look,
but I enjoy offensive games.
I would totally agree. If I had my way, I'd play offense. It should be 4-on-4. Tons of space. I'd get rid of that stupid block charge arc, which is just the worst play in college basketball. And everyone's going to, my Twitter's going to blow up. The standing, as a guy's going to the basket to dunk the basketball, you go stand there, don't do anything, just stand there.
No, Roy
Get rid of it.
Williams brought up an interesting thing, saying that perhaps he could use you, but he would just leave you on one end of the floor and just play on offense. And go from four.
You talk about a recruiting ploy. That would be the greatest thing alive. Hey, look, we're just going to use you on offense. Oh, my God.
Oh, look at Markel Johnson split and get all the way in, but a good contest by the Tar Heels, and Brooks comes away with it.
Harrison Brooks doing a good job just keeping his eye on the basketball. Really didn't go for the fake, stayed in position. And another turnover.
And I think Justin Pierce just got a little ahead of himself, a little excited, and it's the 8th turnover of the first half.
That's about
Roy's team.
I think the second half, that's got to be the focus in the first 5 minutes, is get up and down the floor, but let's just make some simple plays. Let's create a little flow to the basketball game. And if you get that going in your favor, I don't care who it is, North Carolina or North Carolina State, you're going to have a good chance to win.
And tape won't go. Funderburk fights for it. And he's called for being on the baseline. Minute 20. Still halftime. I'm told that Wake Forest at home against Duke is up by 6. Now 8 with a little over a minute to go in overtime.
And Duke's supposed to have the best chance to win the national championship game, which, again, who makes that up and why, I have no idea.
Brooks backing down and going right over the top of Danny Dixon. Garrison with 13, and North Carolina has the lead for the first time tonight. Cole Anthony's going to be called for the push. Now Cole has a couple.
I love Cole Anthony's face on that because it wasn't an egregious foul. It was just a little bit of a grab.
Greg Anthony, who is very rarely displays any emotion there. A 30-second timeout here. Greg didn't show a lot of emotion, but his son Cole picked up a couple of fouls. Back at the Dean Smith Center, you see Cole Anthony, and then Greg Anthony is right behind the lady standing in front of the lady in the pink cap.
Trust me, he's there.
There he is. Our crack camera crew had a great shot, and perhaps Greg had to take the call.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Not showing the emotion, but probably calling somebody to complain about the last foul called on Cole.
Great shot until he came on air. I like
There
this. Braxton Beverly in there. He's going space, and you just want to create space. I think I called him Patrick earlier, but he's Braxton. Create space and make a play. High ball screen, get that roll.
Markel Johnson.
Ooh.
Just one to the right, now one to the left. State has made just one of its last 8 shots, and now Roy Williams will use the timeout rather than lose it before halftime.
It's a good opportunity to see if your team can execute. I love these timeouts for coaches because they're definitely drawing something up. You're probably going to get Cole Anthony back in the game for offense. Things have gone pretty well for North Carolina, particularly when you consider how bad the start was. And this has been the guy. Harrison Brooks has been terrific. I guess that wasn't really a travel. That was good footwork, but he's done that all night. Second chance opportunities. He's got popped in the face a few times. He's attacked. I mean, this one right here, the little up and under, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there it is. That was a terrific basketball move. And if you can trust this guy in the post, and if you can create space around the perimeter so it's an ISO situation, I'm going to him more often in the second.
He's got 10 double-doubles. That's 3rd in the ACC, and he might get another one tonight, already with 13 points. This is where North Carolina felt that it had an advantage against State. Brooks obviously had the huge game in the first meeting, and Armando Bacot, who's been saddled with a couple of fouls, also had a double-double in the first meeting. But Brooks has been able to deliver a lot of offense and really helped North Carolina steady the ship after that slow start. Leaky Black fires to the corner. Pierce picks up the low pass, and now Pierce steals it back, and North Carolina, if it wants, will have a chance for the last shot. Ooh, that's a dangerous pass. And now Markel Johnson will be able to, well, he would have been, but he was way too casual with the ball and got his pocket picked. Leaky Black. Markel has played well in the first half, but that careless turnover is something that Kevin Keats wanted to change in this game. Brooke Weisbro's with Kevin.
Coach, you had the lead in this half until about a minute left. How did Carolina get it back?
Well, I thought they got to the free throw line. They started driving. I thought we settled towards the end of the half for a lot of threes.
You talk about the pace a lot in your huddles. How do you like the pace the last 5 minutes?
Well, I love the pace. I just think we gave up too many offensive rebounds towards the end of the half.
Thanks, Coach.
And the 8th turnover of the half was a crusher as Black made it pay off. Look at Playtech with the hustle, and then Leaky Black with the drive. UNC by 3. Stay tuned for the Jeep halftime report right after these messages. You're watching ESPN's Road to Champ Week, presented by Wendy's. Cole Anthony in North Carolina finished the half on a 7-0 spurt after NC State had opened the game by jumping on top 10-0 Carolina with a 3-point lead as we get ready to start the second half. Reese Davis and John Crispin. Brooke Weisbro will be with us in just a second. Two guys in double figures. Garrison Brooks played very well for North Carolina. So too did Markel Johnson from State.
Yeah, Markel Johnson got it going early. I mean, just creating for himself. And ultimately, it was a lot of high ball screens that made things difficult for North Carolina to defend. And truthfully, both teams struggled early. I mean, turnovers, 5 turnovers within the first 5 minutes of the game. They've somewhat settled in. Markel Johnson, a big part of that offensively. But on the other end, goodness gracious, that move. I could watch that all night. On the other end, Garrison Brooks was terrific. To have a guy that you could throw the basketball to, let everybody else somewhat stays away, let him create, make a play, up and under. He was very good with the basketball in his hand, but also creating second chance opportunities. I look for them to go into him heavily in the second half.
Moments ago, Brooke Weisbro spoke with Roy Williams.
Coach, Garrison Brooks took a pretty good shot to his face in the first half. How is he feeling, and what kind of impact has he had on this game?
Well, he's our inside threat. He's our only inside threat. He's playing great, but he's been bleeding inside the mouth. He's a tough customer. We need him to be even better and tougher in the second half, Brooke.
Thanks, Coach.
Brooke, Roy, thank you. North Carolina will have the ball to start the second half. Devin Daniels back on the floor, number 24 from North Carolina State. He played only 6 minutes with a couple of fouls in the first half. He is the reigning ACC Player of the Week after outstanding performances against Duke and Florida State, scoring 25 against the Blue Devils and 18 against the Noles.
And I would say the other one is Manny Bates. Having him back on the floor gives you another good rebounder, shot blocker, another presence inside, which they've needed with Garrison Brooks playing so well.
Oh, Anthony beats the shot clock.
I don't know how he got that shot up. It looked like he went to jump and almost lost his footing a bit, but he's a guy that if he gets hot, it's kind of lights out. It changes the entire way you defend if you're NC State. So I try to keep the ball in his hands as much as possible if I'm a Wolfpack.
Carolina with its biggest lead of the night. Here's Johnson going in. The foul is going to be on Brandon Robinson. Robinson's been playing. Roy Williams mentioned to us today, Brandon's missed some time with a bad ankle, and he's been a little bit gimpy. He didn't do anything to the ankle in the first half. It's just sore, and it's hampered his mobility. Carolina with Anthony crossing over and going right into Bates, and Daniels comes up with a loose ball. And a tie-up as Leaky Black is there, and the arrow will stay on this end with the Wolfpack.
Robinson did a good job of just keeping his eye on the basketball, not just turning on the head fake, but standing his ground. Took a little bit of a contact. I like the no call.
Brandon missed his only 2 shots that he tried. And got him taped up and tried to give it a go here. C.J. Bryce gets all the way to the basket.
It's just too easy on an out of bounds underneath. Defense should be set. You should see the basketball. I'll never understand why you give up a basket and an out of bounds underneath. Just force the ball out. Allow your defense to get set. It's almost like a purposeful reset defensively, and that's when a defense is at their best.
Stepping into the passing lane is Johnson, attacking Robinson, and he missed the dunk, but a foul is called on Robinson inside. Love the aggressive take by Markel Johnson.
Markel Johnson, you knew, I mean, look, you watch enough warm-ups, you know Markel Johnson's going up to throw this thing down. We talked about the video, the GIF, the YouTube highlights. This is one you never want to end up on. Because that thing lives. It lives for a while.
Markel is not a great free throw shooter. Just 59%. Shoots less than 30% from 3. He made a couple early tonight. And he has 11, shooting for his 12th point. Kevin Keats has 4 guys who average right around 13 points. Very balanced offense. This is what's at stake for the Wolfpack. They are among the last 4 in, according to Joe Lunardi. North Carolina, meanwhile, is trying to avoid matching the longest losing streak in school history, one that occurred before the ACC existed. Robinson misses. Funderburk tips it over. Bates has it, and Johnson's into the front court.
We've mentioned, look, a loss.
Ooh, spin, and Johnson puts the pack back on top.
If he has the ball in his hands, I'm just going to stop talking. That's a ridiculous move and finish.
Baycott has his shot blocked by Bates, and he's making his presence felt after going to the bench with 2 quick fouls in the first half. It was worth following your lead there, partner.
Yep. That was a professional layout right there.
Johnson's all over the place, just missed getting a steal. Brooks working on Bates, and he rolls it home. He's got 15.
Cole Anthony did a good job kind of taking his man away from the basketball as opposed to just floating and staying out there. Allow Garrison Brooks to go to work. He's been successful tonight.
Devin Daniels.
It's big. Devin Daniels is a guy, if you can get him going and add a weapon, he can go off for 20 on any given night. It's just tough because he hasn't been able to find a rhythm in this game.
The foul trouble contributed to that in the first half. Devin gets his first bucket. Transfer from Utah. Baycott misses. Bates has it. State up by 2 with the ball. Markel Johnson to the left. 16 for Johnson.
I just feel like if you don't shade defense his way, he's going to be able to do what he wants. And just had space to work. It reminds me of some of the ISO situations that Jim Boeheim's created for Elijah Hughes, another one of the best scorers in the country, not just this conference.
After Markel put 28 on Duke, Mike Krzyzewski said when he plays that way, they are an elite team, can beat anybody. Been a little bit up and down at times, but he is way up tonight. When we come back, Brooke Weisbrod will have the story of that young man, a courageous guy who's a big-time Tar Heel fan, getting an experience of a lifetime at the moment. Meanwhile, though, Wolfpack fans enjoying the show being put on by Markel Johnson. Back here in Chapel Hill, quick start in the second half for NC State. They're up by 4. Brooke, Carolina getting a little extra help on the bench tonight.
I am here with 11-year-old Scott Linfesti, and he has been an amazing recipient of a special gift today, courtesy of Coach Williams and the Carolina family. So Scott is not only a hooper, he is a cancer survivor. So Scott, you want to tell us a little bit about what you've gotten to do today?
So I went to the locker room. I got to meet all the players, and then I started to, and then now I'm sitting on the bench. Yeah. And so it's really great because all the players are super nice, and yeah, they're all great guys.
They're good guys. That is great to hear, and we know that your parents are here with you tonight. You got to be so excited. What are you going to tell everybody at school tomorrow that you are on ESPN and sitting on the Carolina bench?
I'm going to say I was at the Carolina game, and guess what? I was on the bench.
He keeps it simple. I like that. So awesome to hear. And, we love to hear that, you're healthy. You've done a great job and just been through so much at a young age. So we just really appreciate your bravery and being here tonight. What's going to be your favorite memory so far about tonight?
Probably watching the game on the bench for sure, yeah.
Are you picking up any tips, like you want to be a coach or a player?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a player, yeah.
Well, he's already getting recruited, guys. He's on the bench, literally. What an experience and amazing. Brought to you by Coaches vs. Cancer and the amazing family at Carolina.
Brooke, Roy Williams and so many of the coaches. Roy has done a great job to help raise money and help families who've dealt with childhood cancer. Scott, as Brooke mentioned, fought through many treatments and a whole lot of medicine to overcome his leukemia. And it was great seeing him at practice today. I told him they were counting on him to try to stop that losing streak tonight. Garrison Brooks has had a big hand in trying to do so, but NC State's up by 5.
Now, Roy Williams also said he better not pick up any texts.
Yeah. Devin Daniels got that rebound. He's playing with 3 fouls and a good look ahead to Funderburk, who lays it in.
Three-point shooting for North Carolina has just been a challenge. I think one of their last, one of 11 for the night. Just not getting a lot of good looks from 3. I think you've got to move better without the ball. You got to get the defense to chase you a little bit, chase the ball, but also chase the man.
They're the worst three-point shooting team in the ACC. Bryce goes to the floor to try to get it, but slides out of bounds before he could save it. Show a good sportsmanship from Garrison Brooks to go over and help CJ to his feet.
I think you were nice enough to point that out when you were here for game day, right? Their struggles shooting the basketball and a few other struggles along the way.
Well, you know, they have improved from two. At game day, I pointed out before they played Duke, I said they can't make it from three, they can't make it from two, and they can't make it from one. I said, that limits your option scoring because they've improved in overall field goal percentage, but at the time I said that, they were in the bottom 30 of the country in all three categories, and they just don't have a lot of great three-point shooters on the team. Down by 7, Braxton Beverly back for NC State, and the Carolina crowd wondering how in the world that wasn't a turnover, but I think Braxton just lost the whole thing. But it looked questionable, to say the least.
I thought he went to pass it. He just kind of lost it. I still think that's a double dribble, but what do I know?
Well, I did too. But and Brandon Robinson, slow to get up. That ankle was just leaving him in excruciating pain. If he can stay in and attempt the free throw, he'll have a chance for a three-point play. Foul's called on C.J. Bryce.
I don't think people really can appreciate how hard it is to play with pain like that. It's a nagging pain. You don't have that burst. You can't elevate the same way. And I give him a ton of credit. Attacking, elevating to make that jump shot, just playing at this level.
That was his first bucket of the night. He had 11 points the first time these two played, made all 7 of his free throws, including some clutch ones. Clutch free throws that also has been in limited supply from time to time for the Tar Heels this season.
I realize I'm more of a glass half full guy. I don't know about you. I don't know what I'd call you right now. I'm like a quarter shot kind of guy.
I'm an honest fella.
There you are. There you are. You keep it real.
I keep it real. Just for the kids. Christian Keeling returns, and Robinson, after completing that three-point play, goes to the bench, and hopefully we'll be able to see him a little bit later on.
Well, Christian Keeling was a great spark in the first half, and it wasn't just because he made baskets. He really moved well. He got the defense chasing him a bit. He made some shots, but ultimately created a little movement on the offensive end.
Bryce gets in the paint. Daniels can't get it to go, and now Leaky Black. Nifty move to get it around Bryce. A lot of contact, and a chance for the three-point play.
Braxton Beverly really took the worst of that one. I mean, if you're going to step in and foul, you got to make sure that Leaky Black cannot get that shot up. A Euro step with the contact off the glass, and Braxton Beverly definitely took the worst of it. Looked like he got a little knee-to-knee.
As I mentioned earlier, he's had some back issues. You see where Leaky got his name. His middle name is Malik, and his grandmother nicknamed him Leaky, and it stuck.
I love nicknames. My family's a bunch of farmers, and I feel like every farmer has a strange nickname.
They tip out, another chance for North Carolina. Pierce found Brooks. Brooks cleaned it up. Garrison trying to get it back, and now they'll swing it around, and Cole Anthony would like to get the house back in order. They have to realize the shot clock is inside 5. Leaky has to put it up, and Brooks is going to get him another 20. This is the type of sequence that drove Kevin Keatts crazy in the first meeting. Chance after chance. 12 offensive rebounds now for the Heels. A chance to tie or take the lead. Anthony. Tie game. Keatts was wanting a timeout, and Markel Johnson didn't see him. Not only Beverly called it a 7-0 North Carolina run, has locked it up to 52, and Greg Anthony's son was a big part of it with this move.
Second chance after second chance, and Cole Anthony able to break down a broken defense.
Time by Wake Forest, who's Next to last in the ACC. Now the Blue Devils have to go to Virginia in Saturday prime time, presented by H&R Block. Michigan State and Maryland. Spartans lost at home to the Terps in the first meeting. College game day there in East Lansing, and we'll be there in College Park on Saturday. Here, 52 all between North Carolina and North Carolina State. Another turnover by the Wolfpack. Leaky Black hit the bottom of the rim, and another second chance for the Heels. And Brooks is fouled on his way to the bucket, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Think about that Michigan State-Maryland game. It's almost as if Michigan State early in the season is trying to be who everybody else tells them they are, which is really nothing. I mean, they say you're the best team in the country. They really weren't yet. But now they're getting to a point where they're figuring out who they are, and now's not the time you want to play Michigan State. Right? It's just coming up to March, starting to figure things out. And North Carolina can continue to get in transition. North Carolina State doesn't take care of the basketball. Tar Heels going to win this game.
The last game the Tar Heels won was against North Carolina State. Since then, they've lost 7 straight, trying to avoid matching the longest losing streak in school history, but they've won 31 of the last 35 meetings against the Wolfpack. Harrison Brooks is now 5 of 7 from the free throw line. He has 17 points, in the Heels, who had a 3-point lead at the break, fell behind in the second half. Now have regained the lead. 9-0 Tar Heel run. Trap coming. Johnson gets rid of it to Daniels. Daniels driving all the way. Devaney's had to battle his own foul trouble tonight. We'll go to the free throw line. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's. You're watching Super Tuesday, presented by Progressive. North Carolina and North Carolina State just have a 12-minute media timeout. Tar Heels with a 2-point lead. The basket at which North Carolina is shooting right in front of the Tar Heels bench. They just replaced the net.
Fresh net. Everybody likes a fresh net.
Our conference focus is on the ACC. Joe Lunardi has 5 teams from the ACC in his field of 68. North Carolina State among the Final 4 teams in. Virginia in there. Florida State has surged to the top of the ACC. Boy, did you see that run that they used in the second half to put away Louisville? My goodness. And then a game that just finished a little while ago, Wake, who's just coming in, was just 1 game ahead of North Carolina, just out of last place in the ACC, beat Duke in double overtime by 12. Second time in a week that the Blue Devils have lost by double digits to an unranked team on the road, because Kevin Keats' team just drilled them by 22 last week.
It's funny you say that, like, North Carolina fans probably like hearing that news. I would think everybody in the ACC that's not Duke likes hearing that news. It's just kind of how it is. When you're so good, you find a lot of opposition. Duke's been really good for a long time.
It's the same reason that very few are feeling sorry for the Tar Heels and their struggles this year, because they've owned this league. They've won nearly half of the regular season championship. That is a terrific block by Jericho Helms on Brooks. Markel Johnson on the push, and Christian Keeling cuts off the ball nicely. Johnson. Brooks has it, and here comes Keeling. Doesn't really have numbers, but that's his game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, look, that mid-range game, but look, he's active with the basketball. He's a threat. That's the biggest thing. That guy's always a threat. But he's a threat with the basketball. You need multiple threats to be able to have good offense.
Transferred from Charleston Southern. He averaged 17 points in each of his 3 seasons there. Just seems like over the last half dozen games or so, he's really started to find his rhythm with North Carolina.
I think partially out of need, too. And you should be confident to let it fly. No reason why not.
He's going to let another one fly.
Go ahead.
He's got it. Heading a foot on the line. It's a 2, but it still brings a little noise to this house.
Yeah, but again, go back to the first half. They made a nice little run when Christian Keeling got it going offensively.
He's into double figures. He's been averaging right at 12 over his last 6 games. And a steal by Anthony, but he'll finish it.
I think they thought they heard a whistle.
I think it's the second time. I think they thought they heard one on the Anthony Steele too.
I don't know what they're hearing. I'm hearing the same thing. It sounded like there was a whistle. Devin Daniels just stopped.
I'm going to tell you, Cole Anthony slowed down before he went into his dunk.
I heard your call.
Yeah.
You're usually a little more excited than that. You froze. You thought it was going to be a dead ball, right?
I did.
I thought the same thing.
And I think Cole thought so too for a split second.
But you're a professional. You adjusted on the fly.
Until you revealed everything to America.
You also wrote down Braxton when I called him Patrick Beverly. But God bless you for it. Sometimes I need help.
Hey, look, we all do. It happens.
Some do more than others. Just saying. That's going to be interesting. I don't think there's a whistle in the stands, but
I'm not sure
it
what
sure sounded like it.
It just led to bizarre turnover, and well, perhaps just to even the score, Cole Anthony throws it into the second row. 13 turnovers now for the Tar Heels, 5 of them belonging to the sensational freshman.
Look, if I'm Tar Heel fans, get loud again. I mean, the noise has certainly helped. Obviously, the Tar Heel team has played a factor into the NC State offense as well.
Vanderberg rolling. That was a good look. Can he finish it? He does.
And that high pick and roll has been key. That's how they started the game. High pick and roll. And if Markel Johnson's able to turn the corner, he's going to have success.
Brandon Robinson has been dealing with that sore ankles. Return to Roy Williams' team. Keeling. Buckets. That one was a three. Kevin Keats wants a timeout.
And credit Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony drawing defense his way. He had room to work, and instead of attacking, he found the hot hand. Look, part of having feel is not just creating for yourself. Part of having feel is understanding who the hot hand is, and right now it's Christian Keeling. He's been able to get it going from the perimeter. We knew about his mid-range game, knocks down a long two there, but again, Cole Anthony creating on the driving kick. Brings Braxton Beverly in, open three. Keeling's been fielding.
He's got 13 points tonight, John. A lot of them, as you've mentioned, have really sparked the Tar Heels. He's only missed one shot from the floor, 6 out of 7. And North Carolina has stretched its lead.
He's got good energy. He's got good energy. Look, when I say good energy, I'm kind of like talking about that New York City energy. You know how people say, oh, just love the energy of New York City. It's kind of contagious. It's infectious, whatever you want to say. But he's had positive body language, and positive body language is infectious. Hard to have positive body language when you've been struggling so much you lose as a 7 straight. But picking up that mindset is what helps you start to win some of these close games. What are they saying, don't whistle?
I think they just made an announcement in the arena.
So everybody whistled.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, hey, don't do this, as if that's going to help.
There's no question that it impacted players on both teams. North Carolina State took the worst of it, but Carolina heard it too. And no whistles involved there until the officials blow one. They call jump ball, and possession arrow belongs to the Tar Heels.
I mean, how do you tell people? Have you ever been to a soccer game, like a Champions League soccer game? You want to hear whistling. Play professional basketball overseas. You hear more whistling than you even know what to do with. It's horribly annoying, but how are you going to tell people not to whistle?
Well, you could get them vuvuzelas.
Vuvuzelas might be even worse. It's like a big kazoo. You know what I mean? It's terrible.
Sounds like a swarm of bees.
Oh, big ones.
Wouldn't be a whistle, though. Brooks, that was a great feed from Anthony.
Great offensive action, lifting the defense. Cole Anthony recognizing the entire defense got lifted beyond the foul line. Garrison Brooks, little screen action, gets underneath the defense, and a good find from Cole Anthony. Look, Cole Anthony plays some of his best basketball when he shares it. Doesn't mean he doesn't score. He's got to be looking to score. But when he looks to score, the defensive eyes shift to him. Why? Because he's a great scorer.
Brooks has 20 and just finished Carolina's 7th and 1 opportunity tonight. Now NC State needs some offense to get it going, and instead C.J. Bryce stumbled and turned it over.
I would say this is where you really want to. I would usually say when North Carolina gets down, you want to see a response. I would say this is where you want to see if they can just hunker down, right? Where you can get a big stop here. I like the fact that they're playing good defense. Get a big stop. Now, how can you capitalize on that big stop? Can you execute, get another good basket?
Closing, it's a great point, John, because closing has been an issue for this team. The Duke game most notably, the same thing in the Clemson game here. They had a double-figure lead late, much later than this, and ended up losing the game. So it's been something that the Tar Heels are aware of. But, you know, the one thing you mentioned earlier about the good energy that you've gotten from Christian Keeling, I was talking to Hubert Davis today, and he said he'd been on a lot of teams in the pros and had streaks, you know, that where they weren't playing well, and really easy for guys to lose that energy, maybe even start pointing fingers. He said that hasn't happened at all with this group.
And I think a lot, again, the bad chemistry or the lack of chemistry has been on the floor, not in the locker room.
Anthony has to fire to beat the shot clock, and it looked like it was one of those things. That would have been everything just going Carolina's way if that thing had gone on, but North Carolina has stretched its lead to double figures.
And sometimes you got to find the easy offenses. The one we thought a whistle was blown. Somebody just whistled really loudly. But Carolina starting to put together good stops with good offensive possessions and positive energy. New York City-like energy here.
They told me nothing but stay aggressive. My time would come. And here I am, sitting here, storming the court. First time we ever beat Duke here in my career. And you can see it. Remember the recognition I'm getting from my teammates right now. This is nothing but God. I can't thank him enough for this opportunity. You know, it was a battle. That's all we had to do was fight. And I felt like we won the fight tonight. And there was a big difference from the team we played them the first time to the team today. We can celebrate this now, but we got to work on and continue this momentum into Saturday, into the rest of the ACC play.
Really excited, and Wake Forest, after knocking off Duke here, North Carolina with a 10-point lead over NC State. A little housekeeping while you were gone. The officials went back and looked at that shot from Christian Keeling in about the 10.5-minute mark. The one that it looked from our vantage point as if his foot was on the line. The officials thought so too, but they went back and looked at the monitor and they awarded him a 3. Helms answered with a triple, so that's where we stand with 6.5 to go with North Carolina with a double-figure lead in the second half for the 9th time in ACC play. They were 3 and 5 in the previous 8.
Those are the best reviews. The ones you don't even know about. You know, they just happen.
Yeah. We saw him signal, but he looked over to the scores table immediately. Right. So the next dead ball, they had a look and made sure they got the call right. Johnson leaning in and foul.
I've got to say,
called on Pierce.
There's just really nothing going offensively for NC State, and you've got to credit North Carolina's defense first and foremost. They've been in position to take away the dribble drive, and sometimes the best way to take away the dribble drive is just to show presence. You know, don't be too far out around the perimeter. Just show a little bit towards the paint and negate that drive to begin with.
Daniels wanted that ball screen in the middle, and he went around and scored.
Still good defense.
Made a tough shot, right?
Yeah, made a tough shot. And look, that's what you should do when you play in defense, right? You're not going to stop everything. The idea is to force a team to make the toughest shot possible. And Cole Anthony did just that. Devin Daniels just made it.
Pierce feeds the post nicely, and Brooks finishes. He's got 22.
Pierce with a little up and under of his own just to feed the post, and Garrison Brooks holding his seal to get an easy dunk opportunity.
Helms, who made a 3 a couple of trips ago, was well short. Daniels all the way. And look who gets the ball out of there. It's Keeling. Boy, what a lift he has given his team tonight. The foul was called on Funderburk. It's his 3rd.
Talk about, look, when you have good energy, good body language, confidence is much higher. This is a confident play. Little head fake, hold your seal, pivot to the back. I mean, that's just basketball right there. I think what happens, though, is when your team loses confidence, you don't make those simple plays. You start to overthink things. You force things. You take bad shots when a team goes on a run. You chase the basketball a little bit too much on the defensive end. You give up layups, and that hurts your confidence even more. Right now, Carolina's confidence seems to be high.
Carolina inside 5 minutes to go as Garrison Brooks sets that ball screen. He signaled to the benches in a little discomfort, maybe needing a break. Block shot, North Carolina State in need of getting something going on offense. Daniels comes in, and they'll call the offensive foul. That is 4 on Devin Daniels.
So that's one of those offensive fouls I'm okay with. You're not just standing there while a guy's jumping at the rim. He's in position defensively, and he ran him right over. That's good defense. There's a part of me that's with Billis sometimes when he says, if you take that punch out away with the charge, because every now and then you get the Leslie Nielsen naked gun, right? The real punch out, like you take 10 steps and really punch a guy out. Oh, man. Other times I just disagree.
I'm biting my tongue about the umpire calls. There's no question that the charge is a popular call. Last touch by Pearson out of bounds to North Carolina
Although
State.
sometimes they do the same thing with a block. It looks like a dance move where they kind of shuffle into it.
That could be a home, depending on, not all of the officials do it, but that could be a home and away thing. What kind of reaction you're going to get from the crowd, right?
I don't blame them. I like showmanship.
Absolutely. Just not necessarily the guys in stripes all the time. Certain moments, pick your spots. But right now, Roy Williams is in a stance. He wants to stop from his team. From the corner, and that's a big three and a much-needed one from Daniels. He's into double figures. He's played with foul trouble virtually all night. 7-point lead inside 4 to go.
A little mini ball screen in transition. Defense just got sucked in because he was able to turn the corner. Can't help off the shooters these days.
Another good pass from Pearson, or Pierce rather, and the foul is called inside. That's going to be on Bates. It's his third. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Progressive Insurance. Get beat Duke tonight. Garrison Brooks, oh, what a performance he's had tonight, waiting to shoot his free throws. SportsCenter's coming up next. Tim Legler on the Bucks and the Raptors. See what Louis Riddick has to say about the quarterback draft class in Duke and Kentucky. And Dayton have road tests. A couple passed, one failed, as we mentioned. Brooks got that break during the timeout. He was looking as if he needed a break. Remember, he didn't play against Louisville. He's had an illness, a lot of different symptoms, resulted in losing about 8 pounds. But boy, he has been the picture of health tonight. Brooke, what did NC State have to say in the huddle?
You know, Kevin Keats is just really confident right now. He said, listen, guys, we have almost 4 minutes of time. That's an eternity for us. Continue to attack and continue to raise that pressure, because he really feels like with the way that Carolina has played in the last, well, really this season, his team's got the best chance. If they can keep it close, he feels like Carolina might fold.
I understand. I really understand that mindset. I think the key is getting your players to have confidence down the stretch. You get, this is a North Carolina team that's had struggles closing the door on teams, especially in those close games. So I would say you want to cut it to 5 in the next minute and a half, and then cut it down to 2 or 3 and see how North Carolina responds when the game gets tight. But right now, 9-point lead. Carolina's playing with confidence.
Off the window, Funderburk. He has 15. Down to 7. State applying pressure in the backcourt. Both teams have had some misadventures handling the ball, and Anthony somehow weaves through a sea of red and comes out the other side. Ball in the possession as we go inside 3 minutes. Shot clock at 5. Brooks in trouble. Garrison has to launch. That's a shot clock violation, and Roy Williams is screaming at Keeling, asking him what he's doing, and Roy kind of lost his balance. You know, he has a history of having some moments on the sidelines with the vertigo. He's holding his head now. Some of his players tried to help him, and he fought him off. He desperately wants this game. Feed to Funderburk inside. The block is going to be called. And Funderburk takes it strong, and he'll go to the free throw line. The block is called.
Look, I think it's the right call. I'm not sure if he's shooting here. I mean, where's the foul? I'd give it to him anyway. I just think that we need to get better about giving some of those shots. But I would say the foul's on the floor right there.
Yeah.
The foul's not on the shot.
That's what they call.
They did.
You're right.
No, they gave him the shot.
Did they give him the bucket? Okay, my mistake. I beg your pardon. I thought I saw him signal 2 shots.
Don't worry, I'm here for quality control.
That's right. Keeling, after getting chastised by his head coach, answers with a bucket, and Carolina's back up by 6.
Christian Keeling's been the guy. With 7 rebounds to go with his 16 points. He's been terrific tonight.
From the corner, a 3-ball from Price, and we have a 3-point game.
I said cut it to 4 or 5 in the next minute and a half. They've done a little bit better than that. Now let's see how North Carolina responds. This is where they've struggled the most this season.
6 losses by 3 points or fewer, most since 1941, and Anthony goes to the bucket, and he'll go to the free throw line.
I tell you, North Carolina State's had an answer. You just can't help off the shooters down the stretch. I like the idea of showing early to negate the drive. If you show early, you keep the drive from occurring in the first place. If the drive comes your way, it's hard not to help. I think overhelping is an epidemic at times. They overhelp, you chase the basketball, and you give up open threes, and those driving kick threes are the high percentage ones.
Anthony missed the first. This North Carolina team, not a good free throw shooting team. Worst in the ACC, just over 66%. Anthony has been better than that, 76%. Carolina's been just about on its number tonight. Anthony makes 1 of 2. 4-point lead for the Heels. Kick out, Helms. Bryce keeps it alive. Let's see who touched it last. And it'll be North Carolina ball.
Not a bad look, but also a pretty good defensive possession. And you look at defensive possessions, you're probably going to take a look at this in 2 minutes. Defensive possessions are not just forcing a tough shot. Defensive possessions are also having guys in position to rebound, and North Carolina was there. Now the question is, can you put together some offensive possession? That's the thing. Down the stretch, their offense has been just clear out and let Cole Anthony go to work. I think their best offense is when they got a little movement. You get Garrison Brooks going towards the basket. You got Christian Keeling involved. I thought they got this right on the floor. Oh, I know. Oh, God. Here we go.
There's what they're looking at.
Let's see, did it touch anybody there?
Leaky Black and also Markel Johnson. They're reaching for the ball. Not here. I think after this is where you're going to see if it's touched again. Brooks the last one to touch it there, but the question is, did Markel Johnson get a hand on it?
I'm so glad I'm not an official. Like, I don't know if people would say that I chose the right profession, but I don't know.
Boy, that's
God almighty. I'm sure we could trust one of those North Carolina fans on the baseline. They probably had a good view. An unbiased opinion.
Well, you got a little time. But after a while, if you're having to look, this is a point that's been made on countless broadcasts across sports. You can't tell after a while. And let's go ahead and let the play call it stand.
I still think you have another official, right? You have another official who's paid half as much, right? You pay him half as much. Have him sit there with the monitors in front of him, and that's his sole purpose, is to make sure you get those things right. No reviews, no stoppage of play, and they're just the quality control, kind of like I was for you just a minute ago.
Oh, like that hasn't gone both ways tonight.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You waited until it was in.
Look, I think this is one of those that it stays as it was called on the floor. I don't see enough to overturn it. I'm sure if you wear red and white, you're going to say it should be NC State ball. If you wear powder blue, it's going to be North Carolina ball.
Dude, making sure that they have the clock right.
Yep.
The ball went out of bounds. So, buck 36 to go. Carolina by 4. NC State rallying furiously.
Yeah, but there's still time to have a good offensive possession. This is not time to just kind of walk it up, mosey the. You still have to attack with good movement offensively if you're North Carolina. That's how you close a basketball game.
Anthony has to pick up his dribble. Brooks gets it into the front court. And Johnson went for the steal against Leaky Black. Just missed it. Shot clock headed toward 10. And Carolina's at midcourt.
Man, I'd almost think about running and jumping.
Anthony! Yep. Clutch bucket for Cole Anthony.
He's just got that. I just wouldn't let him have the ball down the stretch. He's too good of an offensive player.
Inside a minute. Wolfpack needing a bucket. This is the guy who can get him. Markel Johnson. And he's fouled on his way to the bucket. Man, oh man, did the Pack need that one to fall for a chance for a three-point play. 47.4 to go here, and much more coming on Saturday. 6 Eastern, Duke and Virginia. Blue Devils hoping to bounce back against a much improved Virginia team. And then Maryland and Michigan State. College game day headed to Maryland. You can see the games on ESPN and the app Saturday night.
And I like this. Roy Williams bringing Brandon Robinson back in. He wants another ball handler to alleviate this pressure. And if you can attack the pressure and get yourself an easy one, that's great.
Johnson has a double-double tonight. 17 points, 10 assists. Make it 18. 4-point lead for the Heels. Anthony, who made a big jumper last time, dangerously leaves it on the ground, and Brooks is going to be fouled quickly. They'll take their chances with a 57% free throw shooter.
I feel like we've been here before, right? I feel like we've been here before, North Carolina at the foul line. You have an opportunity to close the game out, make a couple foul shots, and this is a team, they're 3 of 16 from 3. They've got this lead making 3 3-pointers with 16 attempts. It's hard to imagine.
And Brooks is in rhythm at the free throw line. Shooting it much better than his season average tonight. Garrison Brooks now 9 of 11. Make it 10 of 12. Brooks, who really blamed himself after going 0 for 5 against Duke, hits a big pair there and a block shot by Robinson and the follow by Helms. Four-point game. North Carolina State hanging in there, will not go away as we take a look at the Capital One rewarding performance, and it came from North Carolina graduate transfer Christian Keeling.
Look, Christian Keeling's been terrific, 16 points, but how about 7 rebounds? I mean, 7 rebounds, that means you're making winning plays, and that's probably what's been lacking when you consider a 7-game losing streak. It's making winning plays. This is a guy that's come in, made shots, but has been productive on both ends of the ball, and you give your team a lift, you give them confidence. The body language has been much better, and the hope is that with positive body language and enough winning plays, but good chance to win the game.
Well, Keeling was a terrific player at Charleston Southern. He averaged 17 all 3 of his seasons there. His 16-point performance tonight, his best in a North Carolina uniform. A reminder of what's at stake. North Carolina State, Lenardi telling us they won't fall out with the loss. North Carolina, on the other hand, just trying to stop the bleeding. Their longest losing streak in their glorious history was 8 straight back in 1951. They have been on a 7-game skid. This has been the type of game that they've let get away. They've led by double figures in the second half 8 times in ACC play before tonight. 3 and 5 in those games. They had a double-figure lead late in the second half of this one. It's been cut down to 4. They have 6 losses by a single possession in their last 2 games here, John. They've lost on the final shot against Duke and Virginia.
Now, I have to say, though, looking around this arena, It doesn't feel like they've lost 7
know, it's
straight.
amazing, huh?
I understand fans are frustrated. This is a program that is so used to a level of excellence that is just unparalleled. But they're here. And this place has been packed. The crowd has been terrific. That's special, man. I grew up a Carolina fan, and I never realized what it was like here. But the fact that they've lost 7 in a row and the fans are still here in support is terrific.
He's shown up, made some noise, applied a whistle when needed here and there. Brandon Robinson handling it, and Brooks, who's done a great job at the free throw line, hitting 10 of 12, but Carolina State trying to play the odds and sending him back to the free throw line. Now NC State sitting squarely on that bubble, according to Joe Lunardi. And here's what Kevin Keatts has in front of them. They have Pitt at home on Saturday. Then they go to Duke on Monday night, and then Wake Forest at home. So a couple games that they should win, unlikely to be favored to win against Duke.
They should, but Duke should have beat Wake Forest today.
true.
I mean, look, you can't predict this stuff. The fact that people bet on this stuff is hilarious to me.
To that end, North Carolina was a 2-point favorite tonight, I'm told. Garrison Brooks goes for 28 tonight. He's been great at the free throw line, and a circus shot from Markel Johnson, who's also been terrific. And they're going to have to foul quickly and send Cole Anthony to the free throw line. So one thing the Wolfpack's been able to do is extend the game, but North Carolina hasn't cooperated by missing free throws.
Well, now you got Cole Anthony on the line. This is the guy you want. He's been clutch. Did you get a text from your friends in the desert? Was that what that was?
There are people I know who like to play games of chance. Soft touch rolls in the first one for Anthony.
It's funny. You watch this North Carolina team, and there's a part of me that goes, how have they lost 7 in a row? And I understand the injuries have been huge. I mean, not being able to kind of develop, like I said, that chemistry throughout the course of the season. There is talent on the floor. I think this just hasn't been confidence.
Anthony 1 of 2, a chance to get a little closer, and Markel Johnson's going to be fouled out on the floor. Now, turnabout's fair play here a little bit in terms of sending people to the free throw line. They're not in the double bonus, so this is a 1-and-1, and for all the extraordinary things Markel Johnson can do on the floor, he's not the greatest free throw shooter, though he has made all 4 tonight. Sometimes when you're a player like Johnson, big game, locked in, you're a little better than your season average from the line. 21 and 10 for him tonight.
And Brooke mentioned it earlier in the game. He knows who he's playing.
1 of 2. And the rebound for Brooks. And he is quickly fouled.
Garrison Brooks from the free throw line. That's been the big one.
Mentioned it briefly, John. He was really frustrated with himself in a couple of losses. The Duke loss, he was 0 for 5. The BC loss, he was 0 for 7. But tonight, 12 for 14.
You just hope for this program, if you can pull this thing out in the next 14.6 as Brooks knocks down another one. I hope they can find a little confidence. Get that swagger back. Remember, this team was a top 5 team earlier this season, and they were playing like that up until that loss against Ohio State. Another Ohio State team that's taken a bit of a skid, starting to work their way back into the conversation. It's just been the season. It's just the ebbs and flows of the season with a young group. It's tough, especially when you have injuries.
Sports Center coming up next. Brooks just went for his 30th point of the night. Desperation time for the Wolfpack. Tip, no good. Tip, no good. Leaky Black has the rebound. He secures that, and North Carolina has secured the end to a 7-game losing streak.
Got to give them a lot of credit. Look, this team that's fought. Body language was good. Confidence was high. Hopefully they can continue this.
85-79, the final for John Crispin, Brooke Weisbrod, and our entire terrific ESPN crew. I'm Reese Davis. Sports Center coming up next from Bristol with John Anderson and the Z-Force, Zubin Mehenti.